And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your host of this House of Musicians, Barry Smith.
Hey, good evening, fine listener, and welcome to this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101. We hope you enjoy the next hour with us as we do our small part to help promote musicians, bands, and venues. Gary Labar, how are you this evening?
Barry Smith, I'm doing well and excited about our guest.
Well, our guest is from a band that he has called Trigger Mafia, and they're up-and-coming band that's just started during COVID. But don't get me wrong, Shawn has been around the block. Great singer, great guitar player, and what a fabulous band! And they have a great message. So we are honored this evening to have Mr. Shawn Meehan on the show. Shawn, how you doing, buddy?
Wow, I'm great. What an introduction! Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And you're out there in beautiful BC. And what's the weather like out there right now?
Well, it's a little cloudy, but we can't complain. It's been really nice out here.
Well, you're definitely beautiful in God's country. BC is a beautiful place, that's for sure. Welcome to the show, Shawn. Let me start by asking you how you were influenced by music when you were younger. Did you have an older brother, an older sister with a vinyl collection? Were your parents musicians? I'm just interested to know how you were influenced by music and who you were listening to when you became influenced.
Well, that's a really good. Let me start right back to the beginning before I was born. My mom, both my parents, they had brothers that were in the same band. They didn't know each other, but my dad's older brother was playing in a band, and then one of my mom's older brothers as well was playing guitar in a band. And they were both invited to their brother's gig. And so that's how they met. So my story goes way back. Music brought me to life, literally. And then, both, oddly enough, though, both my parents are not musicians at all, but they were surrounded by music. My mom's mom, my grandmother, had the highest training you could get at the Royal Conservatory for piano. She had a brother who was a professional guitar player who was in that band. My dad, same thing. But the one thing I did notice, though, is that both my parents could sing really, really well. They were natural singers, walking around the house, and so that came natural. And so I realized that came natural for me as well. And then I really didn't start getting into serious. Like I wasn't really a musician until I met my stepdad. He came into my life when I was about 10 or 11 years old, and both him and my older stepbrother were guitar players. And so I was just, wow, this is great. I'm a little kid. I mean, my mother was into sports. I couldn't get into sport. I just couldn't get into it. I was just a clumsy kid, and I was trying to find my way. And when I met these two, they came into my life, I was just, oh, this is it for me. And I couldn't get enough, and I just stayed in my room. Now, when you said vinyl collection, my stepdad had the coolest vinyl. I think he still has it stored away somewhere. It was all those records all the way back from the 60s, I would say, starting with the Beatles all the way up to, the Dire Straits stuff. And it was just and everything in between, and singer-songwriter, Led Zeppelin, all that stuff. And so here I am, a little kid, with my guitar. And then when he's not looking, I found a way to plug into a stereo. He had a reel-to-reel. And so I plugged into it, and I pressed record and pause, and I can make the guitar go through the system at the same time as the records were on. So cool. That is that's where it all kind of started for me.
Yeah, that's very cool. I remember plugging into the home stereo too at one time when I was little and playing my guitar. And you know what? I totally forgot about that all these years. I'm 56. Totally forgot about doing that when I was a young teenager, plugging into a stereo and my guitar would come out of the speakers. That's amazing that you reminded me of that. That's cool.
I know. Wasn't that awesome? It was just an awesome thing. You could play along to a Led Zeppelin record. You could crank it and it was kind of, you're playing with the band, So anyway,
no, absolutely, man. And that just brought back a memory of me doing that when I was young, which I completely forgot about till now. So thank you for that, man. That's cool. Yeah, so man. You're playing guitar. How old? You were 7 when you started playing guitar. And what do you remember? Hey, here's a tricky one. Do you remember what the first song was you learned?
Well, I don't remember. I do remember sort of playing the 12-bar blues in E. But the first song, I remember my first guitar lesson. So I'm not sure if it was my first song or not, but it was Norwegian Wood by the Beatles, and he taught me that really cool sort of D chord and open chord, and I was like, oh wow, this is awesome. Of course, I played that forever, over and over again. But yeah, I would say the Beatles song.
So you had an acoustic first or an electric first?
Well, my stepdad had an acoustic, and I guess they had bought me a little acoustic, and I kind of had both in the beginning because I really wanted to play electric. When I was listening to those 70s records, and then of course, I come from the Eddie Van Halen era, and he was an electric player, and so of course I had to have an electric guitar, and so I never spent that much time in the acoustic. I don't consider myself a really good acoustic player. I sort of, I had a Sears, one of those crappy old Sears guitars that I bought off a buddy for $5, and then my stepdad threw in a pickup in there, and it was just, that's where it all started for me.
It's so awesome to have the influence from stepdads and moms and dads and uncles and stuff. That's such a big influence for a lot of people, for sure. So you were the music was already in your blood. Do you remember let's move ahead a bit. You're 7 when you started playing. Do you remember when you got to be really good, like where you could probably play a song? You're a great singer too, so you could probably play a song and sing it. Do you remember like one of the first times?
Well, what's funny is I never really aspired to be a singer. So throughout my teens and early 20s, I was always just the guy putting the band together, playing lead guitar whenever I could, and singing backup if I was needed. It was never really something I wanted to do. And then, of course, when I started touring professionally in my late teens, early 20s, I was always the best backup singer. I was okay, I'll take that part because I'm a tenor, right? So I could get all those high part notes, and to be honest with you, I just got sick and tired of dealing with singers. I said, I'm going to sing this. I can't, I just want to play in a band. I just want to write music. And really, for me, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a lead guitar player. When I saw, like I said, Mark Knopfler and Eric Clapton and Eddie Van Halen and Jimi Hendrix, and the list goes on and on and on and on.
Of course.
I wanted to be on that list, or at least be able to play like them. And so, I mean, it's so funny. I never really think about, when did you become good? I don't know. I never think I'm good. I just play, and I just hope the hell, and I try to gig. I never really thought about that stuff. I just sort of, I've been playing, I've been gigging since I'm 13, and I just did it, and I always feel like, there's so many great players, and if I could just kind of sort of steal from all of them, maybe my own sound will come through at some point.
Yeah, and it certainly did. So, okay, I don't want to spend too much time talking about like the very early days, because we have a lot to talk about with Trigger Mafia, and you have a few great songs out online everywhere. But let me ask you this: your first gig, do you remember it? And of course, were you nervous when you came out on stage? And how long did it take for, I guess, after the first, when you figured everyone was having a good time, then that nervousness kind of goes away. But do you remember the first gig on stage in front of people?
Oh yeah. So I had the good. It seems like I just had a lot of good fortune along the way, even early. Like meeting my stepdad, and then the next cool guy I met. I was in a band. Gord Oslin was his name, and I was in a band with his son Sam Oslin. It was our first band. We're going to school together. Sam, so my brother and I had a younger brother as well, and he was 11. He sang. I was 12 or 13 at the time, and that was our first band. We were called the Brats, and we would just hang out, and there was no intention to ever gig, really. It was a thing to do after school. It's just kind of learn music, and we'd invite friends, and we'd always have guests over. Sometimes we'd bring over an older guy who would teach us stuff and whatever. And so Gord was a professional musician, Sam's dad, the drummer's dad. So obviously he used his dad's drum kit, and he was in a band that was signed to Warner Brother. I can't remember the name of the band, but anyways, he was also a festival organizer. And one of the festivals he organized was the Winnipeg International Children's Festival, and so he got us a gig. He comes downstairs and goes, "Okay, guys, I got you a gig." And we're like, "What?" We don't even know what that means. We're just little kids. What do we do? What do you? And so it was a daytime thing on a little stage in one of the areas, and we had learned 3 songs, and we just repeated them over and over.
What songs? What songs? I need to know.
Oh God, I can't even. Can you believe this? This is the funniest thing. I remember this. One of the songs was "She's So Cold" by the Stones. And oh my God, we break into it. There's these moms and children. We start singing it and playing it, and they get up and they start leaving.
Oh man, there you go.
That's my first. That's my memory. My firsts are always kind of disastrous. And I remember my first pro gig. Jumping ahead a little bit to when I was just turned 18. And I had joined a club band. All these guys were older than me. I was just like wet behind the whisk, and I somehow talked my way into this gig. So we rehearsed. We go do our first gig in Northern Ontario somewhere, and the next day the club owner says, "Guys, I need to talk to you." We sits us down, and he fired us. So the very first pro gig I ever did, I got fired. I remember just sitting in the van. I will never forget this. Oh my God, am I ever going to ever be able to do this? Like, I'm just sitting there, just like, but I just kept going because I didn't really know how to do anything else. I didn't want to do anything else. So,
of course not.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I mean, and that's how you learn too, right? I mean, you learn what songs, after a while when you're playing live, especially if you're a cover band or you're doing lots of covers.
Yeah.
I know there's lots of cover bands that play originals as well, but you learn what songs people like and want to hear, right? You learn all that stuff. It's all learning curve.
Yeah. Well, you bring up something that's really interesting, and I think it's kind of missing with the younger players is that I played in cover bands for years. I mean, I like after that band got fired, I joined another one, and I did that for a few years full time because back when I was starting out, you could play 5-6 nights a week. You can go hit the road. You're playing 3 or 4 sets a night. You're playing, and you really learn. Not only do you learn how you learn how to perform, and you learn all this stuff, but also too you learn about songwriting, and you learn what songs work and which ones don't, and why, and of course after a while. I would get kind of bored because I'd be playing these gigs over and over and over again. So what I started to do is I started to analyze, why is this song reacting? And then I started to, I'd be kind of not daydreaming, but just sort of playing the songs and thinking, okay, how long is it taking to get to the chorus? And I started to learn these common threads. I'm like, wait a second, all these hit songs all have sort of these common threads in them. And so I think that's missing a little bit with the younger players is sort of, the guys that are coming up, they're 18, 19, 20 years old. Because I'm working with some of them, right? I'm writing with them and I'm producing them and stuff now. And they just don't have that opportunity. There's nowhere to play like that. There's nowhere to go and really learn the ropes, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much stuff is online now. I mean, the bar scene, even before COVID kind of died away. I mean, there's still bars you can go to and see live bands and that, but it certainly isn't like what it used to be 20 years ago or 30 years ago. That's for sure. No,
not at all. And it's a shame, because that's really how you learn how to do it. I mean, when you would look, my favorite band in the world is Van Halen. And I know that my bandmates, if they're listening right now, the conversations always come down to Van Halen, no matter what we're talking about. So they're probably laughing right now. But you look at that band, for example, okay, they started in 1971, playing in backyards. And by the time those guys got a record deal 6-7 years later, they had already put in their 10,000 hours. They had played thousands of gigs everywhere, and again, that sort of thing is missing now,
It sure is. It absolutely is. Shawn, I got an email here from Ray S. And Ray says, hey, all, Shawn's music is the best, really catchy. Love the vocals, rock on. And that's Ray from Regina, Saskatchewan. So thank you for that, Ray.
Oh, thanks, Ray. Thank you.
Awesome. So now you're playing guitar. Okay, let me ask you this. I want to play one of your songs. How did you guys, now the name of the band is Trigger Mafia. What a great name. How did you come up with that?
Well, it started, one of my best buddies and I were mulling around and, because, we're a bit of an older band. And so we thought the Mafia thing has that sort of statesman kind of vibe to it, but in the underworld, it sort of had that cool, we just love the sound of Mafia. So I don't know how to put this. I guess rock and roll is rebellious anyway, so I'm not going to be politically correct right now. But we don't understand this cancel sensitive culture. We don't get it. We don't understand it. And we want to trigger people. We want to trigger people with our music. We want to wake them up and make them think a little bit. And so that's why we thought, let's call it Trigger Mafia. And no one's really complained about it so far. So
no, and you do that with the song "Find a Better Way," which I think we're going to play first, correct?
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a message that you guys are trying to spread. What a great message. And I agree with it 100%. And it's a great song. Now, you wrote this song. Well, let's do this. Let's play it and we'll come back and talk about it. How does that sound?
You got it.
Right on, man. Folks, I have Shawn Meehan from Trigger Mafia on the show, up-and-coming band, and they sure are a super talented band, musician-wise and vocal-wise and writing-wise, folks. Check out this song by Shawn Meehan and Trigger Mafia called Find a Better Way on this House of Musicians radio show right here on Reality Radio 101.
This morning, looked deep into the mirror, and I did not like what I saw. Twisted timelines in my face that I could not erase, and I started to worry for us all. I was blind, but now I see that none of us will feel peace till the black, white, brown, and yellow man can live as one. So I will fight and I will crawl, even if it means I lose it all, and I will never rest until we all get it done. Look inside yourself, find your way through hell, and fight for a better day. Dig in and shine your light, try with all your might, 'cause we gotta find a better way. We gotta find a better way. We got babies on the streets who ain't got much to eat, and we're too damn busy on our phones. We got junkies trying to dance who never had a chance. Do you even care if they feel all alone? Jesus, Gandhi, Buddha, Martin Luther King all tried to sing, but did you ever stop and listen to their song? So you must fight and you must crawl, even if it means you lose it all, and you must never rest until we all get along. Look inside yourself, find your way through hell, and fight for a better day. Dig in and shine your light, try with all your might, 'cause we gotta find a better way. We gotta find a better way. Create a better day. If we all just get along, then together we can all stand strong. We can all stand strong. Don't let the color of our skin decide what's right or wrong. What's right or wrong. Don't let them get inside your head and divide us all up this way. We gotta find a better way. Find a better way. So I got down on my knees and I started to pray. Lord, don't let your children live this way. Please shine your light so we can see the day we can finally find a better way. Look inside yourself, find your way through hell, and fight for a better day. Dig in and shine your light, try with all your might, 'cause we gotta find a better way. Yeah, you know we gotta find a better way. Oh, create a better day. Look inside yourself, find your way through hell. Oh, we gotta find a better way. Dig in and shine your light, try with all your might, yeah, 'cause you know we gotta find a better way. Oh, we gotta find it. Oh, we gotta find it. Oh, we gotta find a better way. Oh, find it, find it, find it. Oh, we gotta find a better way.
Hey, welcome back, great listeners. I have Shawn Meehan on the show this evening from his band Trigger Mafia. Shawn, what a great message. Find a Better Way. Great song. I know you're singing on it. You're playing lead guitar on it. Tell me how all that came to be.
Let's see here. Well, it first it started with when we got together. Like I said, there was no sort of intention of anything but just to jam. And then we thought, well, let's start writing some songs. And we're all kind of on lockdown. I mean, some of us still are, but especially at that point, it was the beginning of the pandemic, and there was some crazy news stories going on and riots and all kinds of stuff. And we're just watching this, and we kind of felt helpless. And I remember my stepdad saying, when you're having a hard time processing how you're feeling and stuff, put it down in a song, because he was a songwriter. And so I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down and, wrote the music together with two of the other guys with the rhythm section, Jay and Rod. And I sat at home late one night, and the lyrics came to me really quickly. I just kind of wanted to pour out sort of how I was feeling. And of course, they helped me. I'd done the majority of the lyrics, and then they sat down and basically, helped me out with them and helped me tweak them. And then we wanted to, what kind of message, what do we want to send, or how would we, how do we feel about all this? And that's what we did. We wrote it down in a song, and with no intention of anyone ever listening to it. It was more, I would say it was therapeutic more than anything. And I've come to learn over time that tends to be the best stuff, the stuff that you write for yourself. So yeah, that's how it came about.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, what a great song, Shawn. Congratulations on writing that one. And it sounds fabulous too. The production's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Basically we produced that ourselves. I took the helm and produced this record, and we did most of the, we did all of it. We did a lot of work in the rehearsal because we couldn't go anywhere anyway. So we rehearsed the crap out of the stuff, and we would record it on my iPhone, and then I'd go home late at night and listen and go, okay. And then I'd go back and we rehearse it. So by the time we hit the studio, a great local studio here in town called Ear Art Studios, a buddy of mine, Tim Newhouse, basically, he tracked it, engineered it, and the stuff was worked out. So we did it live off the floor. And then, and I overdubbed the vocals, of course, afterwards and then just basically, we recorded it fast, because the work had been done. And that's what I wanted. I wanted that sort of live, fast, not think about it too much kind of thing. And that's how it turned out.
Yeah, it turned out great. Now let's talk about this. You've charted multiple times. You've had the honor of winning the BCCMA Horizon Award with a song written with Carly Rae Jepsen, who's "Call Me." The song "Call Me Baby" sold over 21 million singles. Man, that's impressive. Let's talk about that real quick.
Well, I certainly had nothing to do with that song. I wish I did. But what happened was this was back, I would say, late 2000s. I was in a different band that was being managed by the same person that was managing her career. And so she had approached our mutual manager and asked if I could give her guitar lessons. She'd seen us at a show, and she wanted to take some lessons. So she wanted me to help her, sort of widen her knowledge of chords and that sort of thing. And we got along pretty good. She was really nice. And so at the time that band was kind of coming to an end, and I wasn't sure what to do next. And so I started writing country songs, and I submitted this one song to our mutual manager, who was also my publisher at the time. And he really liked it, but he said, Shawn, I think the lyrics could be stronger. And I was burnt out on the lyrics. I didn't know what, I'd sort of taken it so far. So I went to Carly the next time we had a lesson. I said, "Hey, Carly, I got the song I'm working on. Would you mind helping with the lyrics?" And I wasn't sure if she was going to help at all. Sure. So the following lesson, she comes with stacks and stacks and stacks of lyrics. And I'm like, whoa. So I picked and choose the ones that she says, pick whatever you want. And so I picked and choose whatever I wanted. I added those lyrics to the song, resubmitted it, and loved the song. And it turned out to be the lead single of my country rock band, Me and May, that we released, it was about 10 years ago. So that's how that all came about.
Yeah, good for you. Let's talk about some bands that you've been in. You were in a band called Deadline.
Yes, that was a while ago.
Charted top 60 on the Canadian rock chart, multiple videos in rotation on Much Music, charted top 60 on Canadian, I just said that, recorded with Steve Brown, who recorded George Michael, Freddie Mercury, and The Cult, and many more. Man, that's impressive.
That was a really great experience. That was my first.
Let me add, Deadline headline, the Commodore in Vancouver with Nickelback as the opening act.
Yep. Yeah, that was in.
Wow, buddy.
That's how I met my current manager. It was just it was the mid '90s, and we were co-headlining with a local Vancouver band called Damn the Diva, and it was the local university that had put on this big show, and there was 3 bands, us 2 co-headlining, and then this little unknown band called Nickelback, that was a really good time. We had a song on the radio. It was a heavy rotation on CFox, which is our local station. And I knew nothing about radio tracking or any of that stuff, but just the local, the music director at the time, Rob Robson, was just a really cool guy and really responsible for a lot of bands' careers. He was what I would call a true believer music director from a radio station. You know what I mean? He did that job for the right reasons. He wanted to get involved in breaking bands' careers and being from the ground up. And he was just such a cool guy. And he really taught me a lot about the business and radio tracking and all that sort of thing. And so, the song he had added this song that we brought to him, and he taught me how to get a song on the radio across Canada. And he set me up with a radio track, all these sort of things, and taught me about the business. So, so that's how I met my current manager now, Clyde. He was developing Nickelback at the time. And, and then basically that band, I went on and formed other bands after that, and I never really stopped. I just kept, a lot of close calls, and I've been signed a few times along the way. Had the band after that had 2 top 30 hits and a top 50 hit in Canada, a band called Chrome, and then and I took a break from rock and went into country for a while, and then came back to do Trigger Mafia.
It's so good to be versatile. It just feels so good to be able to play different kinds of music. I love old country too, and I love rock, hard rock as well. So it's such a good thing. I mean, there's amazing, really good. A lot of friends that I have don't like really country. Now, me personally, I like the older country. But we were talking about this before the show. What amazing musicians! Steel guitar, fiddle guitar in the older country, and even in the new stuff. Like, look at Brad Paisley. The guy's a genius. But
it's just like, it's
amazing
humbling.
musicians.
I mean, the country scene is just so underrated. I mean, the players are monstrous. I mean, when I went into the country world, man, I was just so humbled. I started as a rock player. I did study jazz and contemporary, and I dabbled in country, but when I started sharing the stage in these festivals with these country players, I was just like, wow, what incredible players, you know what I mean? So, I've always just been a fan of music, not necessarily obviously I grew up in a time where the popular music for me as a kid, was rock and country rock and all that sort of thing. But as a student of music, I've always tried to keep just a wide open lens to. When I went to music school, I went and studied Baroque music, and I studied Gregorian chant, and I went into just the whole evolution of music, because I think if you let everything influence you, then I think it makes you a much more all-around player.
Absolutely. And I've written and recorded rock songs that have a country feel to it because I love country, and vice versa. Yeah. Country songs that have a rock feel to it because, the versatility. Let's talk about, let me just say this. Clyde has an amazing ear to be your manager. So he's doing really good in that department. He has a great ear.
Well, he's a great manager. I mean, he's a very loyal manager. He's in a business that is riddled with
corruption.
There's not much.
We might as well just say it.
Yeah,
might as well just say it. Corruption.
Let's just say there's not much loyalty in this business, and he certainly is very loyal, and he's been with me a long time, and should have probably dropped me about 3 times along the way, and just and
he's got faith.
Yeah, he does, and he. I think he values loyalty as well. And so, and I think in the end, that's what really matters. It's you stick with the people that are loyal to you. And I think that's how you win battles, and that's how you get to the next level when all seems hopeless, kind of thing. And so, yeah, no, he's great, and he's a very patient guy, and he lets you kind of make your own mistakes. You know, he doesn't come in there. He's not very forceful. He doesn't come walking in the room and, guys, you got to wear monkey suits and you got to do this and you got to do that. Yeah, he's very respectful that way and very knowledgeable. And yeah, it's been great. And we just recently also started a production company, him and I, because we've been working together for so long. We decided to expand into other realms of the business. So, you know, we're going to be producing and developing and writing other artists. We're going to be providing label services. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's exciting. So he's more than just a manager. He's also a business partner now on that level. And also I consider him family. You know, we've been through a lot of family stuff together too, you know? And so yeah, he's a great guy.
That's always nice to have that camaraderie between, an agent and the band for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very grateful for it. Yeah.
Good for you, man, and good for Clyde as well. Let's just touch on Me and May real quick. You were signed to Cordova Bay Universal. You were awarded the BCCMA Ray Macaulay Horizon Award, which we discussed earlier, but you also were nominated 2 years in a row for the BCCMA as well. Best Group or Duo Award, and you've played every Canadian country festival. Now, how did Me and May come about? Like, how'd you get the title? And just talk about what that band was about.
Well, again, like going back to the Carly Rae Jepsen story, it started with that song. It was like
cool.
I was kind of burnt out. I'd done the rock thing. You know, Chrome did 3 records, and as you know, you had mentioned that you had guests from April Wine on, and I always think of that song. You know, rock and roll is a vicious game. It certainly is. And I had come really, really close with Chrome. You know, we put out 3 records. The third one was on a label, and we had songs in the top 30, and we had everything lined up. And some misfortunes happened with some politics to do with agents and things like that I don't really want to get into, because my mom always said, you got nothing good to say, don't say it at all. So I won't.
Yeah, and you're always moving forward. Yep.
Yeah, always moving forward and learning from your mistakes. And I was a bit disheartened. You know, I was pretty burnt out, and it was like, oh. And so I took a break from rock. And at the time, I really wasn't understanding what was going on with rock. You know, Mumford & Sons had just won Group of the Year. As much as I love Mumford & Sons, I think they're actually a great band. I just didn't see that as, you know, rock Group of the Year. I just went, what? Okay. So I thought I'm going to take a break from rock and just get into songwriting and, you know, do other things. And then that song came about, and my manager at the time got excited about it. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to put a band around. Let's release a single. So I better go get a singer. And so the band Chrome was on the road, and we were doing really well in different markets across Canada. One market we did really well was in Prince George. We had a couple of songs that had topped their charts there and stuff. And so we were headlining a small festival in Prince George. And so I called up the program director, who I'd become friends with. I said, hey, let's put on a contest just so we can help promote the show more. The single at the time was a duet. It had a special guest singer on the recording of it, but we didn't have a female live. So I thought, let's put on a contest where a female contestants could submit, and I said, you guys can pick whoever. We'll just have fun with it, you know. And so they picked this girl. They picked the winner, and man, she was great. She had a great look, and she had a great sound. She was 18 years old, and she came up at sound check. And at the time, we were talking about putting this band together. And I look at each other, and we go, I think we just have the singer for the new country rock band. And sure enough, She does the show with us. We get to know our parents. We say, hey, come down to Vancouver and join this band. Long story short. And so her stage name was Jackie May. Her name was actually Jacqueline Brain, but she wanted to use May instead. And so I wanted sort of, at the time, Mumford & Sons was pretty big. And I thought, why don't we come up with a name like that? So some sort of funny name. And I always liked sort of the Fleetwood Mac kind of thing. So we came up with Me and May. And it was a play on words because my last name is Meehan. So Me and May. And nobody,
cool.
And not that I want to correct you, but nobody ever says my last name properly. It's actually a silent H. It's Meehan, not Meehan. And so I thought,
sorry.
It's okay. It's okay, man. It's all good. And so I said, if I spell it out Me and the word and May, you can actually you can say my name properly, Me and May.
Right.
So that's how it came about. To answer your question in a long form.
Yeah, no, and I learned how to say your last name too, so it's a win-win for everybody.
All good, man.
Awesome, buddy. Let me read a couple of emails. Shawn Meehan. See, I said it right. This is from Dave N. Dave says, hello, first-time listener to your radio show. Love this guest. I had to write in. And now he's asking, Shawn, are there any plans after COVID to perform live with Trigger Mafia?
Absolutely, yes. That is the whole number one plan.
And by then, you'll have an album or two.
Oh, well, actually, yeah, I can lay out the plan for you. Jesus is almost like it was planned. What a great segue. Thanks for that question. But basically our plan is we recorded a full-length album. We did 10 songs before we even released anything. And then we released Find a Better Way back in the fall. And then starting back in March, we decided to release online a single a month for every 28 days. And so we're going into the, where are we now? We're going into the fourth one, which is coming out here next week, called The Brotherhood Song, which is going to be on that album. So our plan is to basically, by the end of the year, we are going to release on vinyl and on CD a full-length album, and then keep doing that the following year. We're going to have a song a month for the next few years. And then as soon as touring will allow, we plan to be the first ones out. Our van's already packed, and we're waiting to tour. So
good for you, man. And when I'm a vinyl collector. I have thousands of albums. When that vinyl comes out, I expect to buy one off you, signed by you and the band, and maybe you can send it to me. That'd be awesome.
You got it, man, for sure. Absolutely.
I would love that. Here's another email, Shawn, from Ben J. Ben says, finally a band that I can listen to, great harmony structure, and a great 80s sound, well-produced and well-written. The best. That's from Ben. Thank you, Ben.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. That's very cool. Cheers.
Let's read one more, and then we're going to play another one of your songs. Irene K. asks, hi, does Shawn have any modern day influences that he likes to listen to? And I'd like to know too. I was going to ask you, who, when you're cleaning the house or, having a beer, who do you listen to? Who do you throw on?
Oh, wow. What a loaded question. Cause I listen
to no kidding.
For
a lot
me,
of
music,
people.
It's a reflection of my mood. Like sometimes if I'm just in an aggressive mood, I've got high energy, man, I'll throw on some metal. Or I'll, I also, I'm a big fan of Billie Eilish. I really like, she has this really sense of quirky songwriting. Let's see who else. It's all over the map. I know. Okay. You know what? I'm going to open up my playlist here because it's too, I love the Eagles. I'm a big fan of the Eagles. They're one of my favorite bands. I mean, growing up, but that's not a modern band. I mean, the question is a modern band. Let's see. I'm trying to think of, I liked Greta Van Fleet. I think. Me too. They kind of sound old, but they are a modern band. They do have that sort of 70s, Zeppelin thing going on. Yep. I've been listening to sort of a lot of indie pop. I don't remember the names of the artists. I just put on these sort of new modern indie pop playlists, and because it reminds me of that sort of late 70s, early 80s new wave pop sound, but with a modern edge. So. But I'm all over the map, man. I listen to everything. So it's
for you.
It's a tough question to answer.
It really is. And so do I. I listen to everything as well. Thank you for that email. Why don't we do this, Shawn? Why don't we play your next song and then we'll come back and talk about it. And then I have a couple more questions for you, of course. Your next song is Sitting on a Corner, which I absolutely love. Been listening to it for the last few days. Folks, I have Shawn Meehan. See, I said it right. Shawn Meehan.
You got it right, man. Thank you.
I know, because I'm looking at Me and May on the computer right now.
There you go, Meehan.
So I got to say, Meehan. There you go. We have Shawn Meehan on the show from Trigger Mafia, his band Trigger Mafia. We're going to listen to one of his songs, Sitting on a Corner, right here on this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101.
Everything we built just to throw it away. Where's the law and order? Everything we build just to throw it away.
Hey, as Gary Labar just said, welcome back, folks. I have Shawn Meehan on the show this evening from the band Trigger Mafia. We just heard his song Sitting on a Corner. Now, Shawn, I don't know if it's right for me to say this or not, but I'm, or proper if anybody else feels like this, but I really could hear Van Halen. I know you're a big Eddie fan, doing that song. David singing it, Eddie doing some wild licks in it. It's got such a nice groove to it. How did you come up with Sitting on a Corner?
Well, let me tell you, I am not shy by saying and proud of the fact that I'm heavily influenced by Eddie Van Halen. So I consider him my sensei, and I do everything I can to keep his spirit alive. So yes, heavily influenced by Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth and Van Halen as well. How do we come up with it? Well, I'm trying to remember. We were kind of one of those jammy moods, and I think Rod had come together, had sort of started a sort of Charlie Watts-ish kind of groove, somewhere between Charlie Watts and John Bonham. He's a huge Bonham fan, and I think that's part of the reason why I love him so much. And he just had that groove going on, so I started messing around, and of course that came out, that little 3-chord. I think the chord progression came first. I think it's a very sort of common Southern rock chord progression, you know, and I think that chorus had come first as well. You know, everybody come together. It just had that sort of gospel-y Southern rock kind of thing. And then so he starts jamming, and I think I just started, using that technique. It's sort of that what I call the little guitarist technique, you know, off Diver Down, Van Halen record. And it's also Angus Young too. He does it a lot too, you know. So it's sort of a double stop, you know, you got all your fingers going at once sort of thing on your right hand. And came up with that. And then the bass line, I we were kind of messing around, and Jay was messing around. And Jay is a monstrous bass player, and he just so much stuff comes out of him, and all of a sudden I went, "That's it right there! Stop!" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" He had no idea what he'd done. He goes, "No," and I sung it back to him. What? He what's funny is he had come up with it, and he doesn't even realize he was just playing along. I said, no, that's the lick right there. And so we just kind of slapped it together relatively quickly, and didn't really have the lyrics yet. It was just more a big anthem-y, Southern rock kind of. I'd been kind of on I think we were listening to Allman Brothers or something, or I don't think it was Allman Brothers. You know that song, Can't You See? Can't you see?
Oh,
and I thought,
yeah.
I went, I wish I could write a song like that. What is that band? Marshall Tucker, maybe?
Yep, Marshall Tucker. Yep.
Yeah. And it was I just thought, wow, I wish I could write a song like that. So that song was kind of an attempt of sort of doing the same thing, that sort of gospel influence, but also the 80s rock too, which kind of flows through naturally through us anyways, because we were kids growing up listening to that stuff. So and then the lyrics kind of came. I saw it was kind of sitting on a corner. It was Find a Better Way Part 2. And it was like, I want to expand on that, but I want to explore the darker side of it, you know? So right. The song is a bit darker lyrically. It's a little bit, It's a little angry, a little bit. It's the verses are angry, and they're like, what the hell is going on, guys? Like, come on. And then of course the chorus is uplifting and gives you hope, kind of thing. And so, yeah, hopefully that answers the question. That's where it came from.
Well, it's a great song. I love the groove, and everybody played amazing on it. I love the song. So good for you for writing that one as well, Shawn. Let's talk about this, man. I'm looking right in front of me. It says Shawn has shared the stage or opened for Nickelback, Seether, Puddle of Mud, Our Lady Peace, Tom Cochrane, Tim McGraw, Alan Jackson, Tim Hicks, Trooper, Rascal Flatts, George Canyon, Aaron Pritchett, 5440, Holy Smokes Guy, Alana Miles, Cinderella. What the heck? Like, that's so impressive. So what I want you to do is tell me, I don't know if this is fair to ask or if it's fair that you answer, who out of all these people that you've opened for or shared the stage with was your favorite?
Oh my God, that's a tough question. Well, I'll share different aspects of that.
Share a couple of stories with me. Crazy stories. Crazy stories. Go ahead.
Sorry about, there's a delay going on here, this damn internet stuff. But anyways, you mentioned Cinderella as the last one. Well, that was one of the first ones. I was really young. Those guys were coming down from it was the 90s now, so they were going from the arena scene into the club scene in the middle of the 90s. And I was one of my first gigs, and we were playing, we started to build a following with Deadline, you'd mentioned. And so we get invited to open up for them. I don't know why. It was sort of a last minute thing. And it was really trippy because as a kid, I grew up watching MTV when MTV used to play videos. And I remember watching Cinderella. I'm like 12, 13 years old. And I'm like, oh, I love this band, along with a bunch of other ones that were getting played. And so all of a sudden we're doing sound check. I'm like 18, 19 years old. I'm looking over, and it's one of the guys from the video. It's the bass player from the video. And he looks exactly like he does in the videos. His long, straight blonde hair. He's wearing his rock star clothing, and he's leaning up against one of the amps just watching us. I went, oh man, this is trippy. It's like, and so as soon as I'm done sound check, I've never really been shy when it comes to that. I just went right to him and said, hey man, I love your band. And he was really super nice guy. So we start chatting, and I said, oh, I started asking about how they got signed, and all those questions. And he goes, hey, do you want to come back and meet Tom, the singer? I said, oh, of course I do. Let's go. And
cool.
He takes me to the back, and I get goosebumps thinking about this because these guys were part of my, it's my childhood, growing up watching these kind of bands. And he's sitting there, Tom looks exactly, he's got the long hair, and he's doing his makeup in front of he's in front of the I felt like it was a set of, I thought it was in a movie, he's sitting there right in front of his mirror, and he's getting ready or whatever. And he doesn't really even look over all that much. He's, hey, Shawn, nice to meet you, man. It sounded good out there. And we're chatting away, and they were both just super nice guys. Like just it was so that was a really cool experience. Wow, all the other ones, there's so many. The best ones, oh gosh.
Well, I love to ask my the artists that come on the show, tell me a crazy story that's happened, like on the road, on stage, on a tour bus, or just in general, just a crazy story. Well, you just told us one, which is pretty damn fun.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get too. I got to be careful here because this is, we can't get too rated R here. But anyway, no, I'm just kidding.
No, but we have young listeners.
yeah, we got a lot. No, but geez, all those bands were awesome, and 5440. Those guys, when I think about those guys, they were so gracious. We opened up for them at the CN Center, I think it was called, in Prince George. We had songs on the radio there, and place was packed. And oh my God, one of them comes back to our room, and we're in a tiny little room. There's no catering, there's no nothing. We're just happy to be there. And I think it was the bass player. He comes in and he goes, "Hey, you guys hungry?" Sure. And he invites the whole band over to their side, and they got all this catering, and like, help yourselves, guys. Just things like that.
That's awesome, man.
I can't think of anything negative. I remember one time we were opening. It's not only anything is on that list. We were opening for. We were doing a festival in Manitoba, and we were opening for Tom Cochrane, and he's huge, right? And I was excited because Kenny Greer was playing, and I've always been a fan. He's from Red Rider, and I was just a fan of that band. So I have my backstage pass, and I sneak right into the guitar pit. And the guitar guy looks over and goes, "What the hell are you doing here?" Like, I just want to start just trying to get
That's awesome.
Get the hell out of here, man. What are you doing?
That's great.
Oh, sorry, man. Sorry. And then I just kind of, got out of there. Things like, but that's about the worst thing. That he's still, after the show, was really nice and stuff like that. But no, it's
That's
just
good.
But everybody was really cool. Like I can't think of any. Everyone was super nice and super gracious, and I can't complain. Certainly learned a lot standing side stage to all those bands. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure you have, man. And what a great career you've had so far. And you're still young. So you have all this time in front of you with Trigger Mafia. And from the songs that I've heard, you guys are going to do really well. But there's a segment of the show I like to do called, well, Gary Labar, what do you think?
I think I am a big fan of Shawn Meehan's now. I'm pronouncing his name right. But Shawn, your music is reminiscent of my band, and I'm proud to say that because a lot of the bands that I listen to and come across my desk and people that send me demos and things, always looking at someone compatible for a tour or what have you, there's no incompatible. Not that they're worse or better. It's just, same kind of genre a little bit, right? And, I'm in my 60s, and I write a lot of stuff that would be reminiscent of hair bands from the 80s. And I love good harmonies. I love good vocals. So I love it. I'm a new fan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That means a lot.
You're welcome.
Shawn, what can I say, man? It's been an honor to have you on the show. I'm going to continue to follow your progress. Gary will too. And you know what? You're going to have an album come out, a new album later on down the road. You might be touring live. You get to Ontario, let me know. We'll come out and see you. But I'm going to keep following your progress. When your album's complete, let me know. We'll get you back on the show in a few months or a year from now or something. You're always welcome to come back, Shawn. Thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you. And I got to say this, I've sat in on a few sort of hour-long shows, and this is the fastest one I've ever been on. I can't believe we just sat in for an hour and chatted. It felt like 10 minutes. So thanks for the entertainment, guys.
No worries. It's an honor to have you, and it does go by quick, that's for sure. So like I said, we're going to continue to follow what you're doing, and we'll stay in touch. Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you. Thank you, Barry. All the best.
And to the listener, I say thank you for being here, and always dance and sing and let the music bring your soul to the surface for all the world to see. Until next time, have a shuffle your feet kind of week, and good night. You've been listening to This House of Musicians on Reality Radio 101.